Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video we're going to be going over some loot results. That's right, the spreadsheets are making a comeback, and this time they're for blighted maps. So in my last video we discussed the possibility that teal oils might improve the quality of the loot chests in your blighted maps, and in this video hopefully we're going to point out some things that prove that in the test that I have performed. So in true fashion, we had to set up a test which would compare teal oils to non-teal oil blighted maps. So to do this, I went ahead and bought 15 yellow maps and used amber oils on them, which basically have no impact apart from making the encounter a little bit easier and also adding 15% pack size, versus 15 yellow maps with teal oils on them. And what we wanted to do was record all loot from all of them to first of all see if we were going to make a profit, and then we were also going to take a look and see what the differences were between the two, and if whether those teal oils would pay back the investment that we had. So without further ado, let's get into the results. But before that, I do want to make actually one quick point, and that is about blighted maps. So in terms of the actual profitability of them, it is fairly static. In terms of like the actual runtime, it's always going to be 5 minutes, and it's probably going to take you about a minute to loot all the chests and run around and follow all those tendrils to those kind of loot explosion kind of things. So that is going to be a very critical point. There's currently no way to optimize these, make them faster, or kind of scale your character power to make you get more currency out of these things. It's just not possible. You're going to be able to run a set amount of these per hour, and that's going to be it. Which is a little bit disappointing in my opinion, but it is also an interesting kind of point as well, because it allows absolutely anybody and everybody to run this content as long as they can complete them and make a similar amount of money as long as they do enough of these maps. And that's a key point here. You need to be doing enough of them. If you just do one, you may or may not get lucky, but if you do a lot of them, your kind of RNG will average out. I see a lot of people posting on Reddit, oh, I did one blighted map, I didn't make money, selling the rest, lol. But this is definitely not the way you should approach a mechanic like this. If you did that with 5 ways or 3 ways or 4 ways, of course, you would also find runs where you don't make money, but you make a lot of the other money in highly profitable ones, which like kind of go against the grain. So you might have low profit ones, break-even ones, and then high profit ones, and you'll see that in the test results as well. And that's kind of how these things go. Like one good divination card might like throw one way above the average. Maybe a 6-linked armor or a weapon might throw it above the average, which can drop in these encounters fairly frequently. And maybe one good oil, like a golden or silver oil, will set you up for some profit as well. So do quite a few and then assess the results is what I'm saying here. And speaking of results, let's get straight into it. So to begin with, what are we looking for here? We're looking for a significant difference in league-specific rewards. We want to see if there's a kind of like an overabundance of league rewards in the teal test, while there may be less of them in the amber test. So to begin with, I just want to quickly go over our costs. We bought the yellow maps for 30C each, and obviously there's 15 of them. I've not included the cost of amber oils because it's a fairly insignificant one, and most people have a bunch of amber oils on hand, enough to do these maps at least. They're not hard to come by. And you could pretty much use clear oils. It's going to give you the same pack size. It just depends on what kind of difficulty you're comfortable with. And yeah, that's basically it. So 450C buy-in, not too bad. Nothing like Legion was in terms of emblem farming. So to begin with here, obviously we have our usual breakdown here. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but I'm going to pick on a few things which I think are quite important. So again, we were looking for league specific rewards because using the teal oils apparently, or according to our results, should improve or change armor and jewelry chests into league specific ones, allowing us to gain more loot. So to begin with, I'm going to point a few ones out. There's a Perandus chest, so an increase in Perandus coins would in fact show us that we're getting more league specific chests. And then obviously stacked decks, for example, drop from a divination card chest, which could be considered a high rarity chest. Now, as with everything, there is going to be RNG in these, but over 15, you should see some fairly consistent patterns, and I think it's fair to say that if over 15 maps there's a massive difference in any of these kind of league-specific areas, we could potentially attribute that to the teal oils and improving the results. So again, moving on, breach splinters will also be another really interesting indicator if that's going to be higher in the teal oil test. Potentially fragments, because there is a fragment chest, especially offerings as well. There's a lab chest, and maybe even legion splinters and incubators, because there is obviously a legion chest as well. We have our miscellaneous drops here. These will frequently drop, like, for you guys. You might not get these exact ones, but prophecies, there's a prophecy chest. You might get the div card chest, drop you a good divination card, and then obviously the gem chest can drop some good gems as well, some high quality ones, some like empowers and lines. And you might end up with quite a bit of profit here, and I assume it will be pretty consistent, especially with the fossils added in there as well. And then lastly, we have the oil section here. So for the purpose of this test, I've tried to make it as realistic as possible. Now, while clear sepia and amber oils do have some value attached to them, is anyone actually going to buy these? Is anyone actually going to sell these? Potentially, but for the purpose of this test, I decided to exclude them because there's such a low kind of currency. It's almost like selling like whetstones or something like that. So I definitely excluded them for that purpose, and they won't be factored into the profit. Even though you do get these, and you can 3-to-1 them up, of course, and you get a significant amount of these. So 3-to-1ing them might actually yield some additional chaos here, and maybe you get it up to like 170, whereas it's only 153 in this test. So this is all conservative estimates. So in terms of the actual scarabs that we got here, we got the scarab like kind of section here. We didn't get too many, but we got a lot of the league specific ones because they dropped from league specific chests. So for example, these breach scarabs would have dropped from breach chests. Same with the polished and bestiary, etc., all that kind of stuff like that. So how much did we make in the end? So our expenses were 450, and we actually made 863 chaos total. So we made 413 chaos, or 2.46 exalts. Now keep in mind, guys, these prices were recorded a little bit ago, because obviously I make these spreadsheets a few days in advance and then make a video on them later. So definitely interesting. We didn't lose any money, and we did make a decent profit, but we were doing 15 maps, and they were taking about 5 to 6 to maybe even 7 minutes each. So definitely not the best in terms of chaos per hour. That's almost like 2 or 3 chaos per minute. Ooh, definitely not ideal. So it's definitely on the lower end of things, but I'm pretty sure you can almost guarantee yourself making a little bit of money off these, especially if you're just running it for the fun of it. If you sell everything, you're probably going to at least break even most of the time, if not make a little bit of cash on the side. In addition to this was without any significant oils. This was the amber test and not the teal test. So definitely keep that in mind as we go to compare to the teal test now. So next up, the test, 15 teal oils, same maps and the same map cost, of course, but we have the teal oils factored into the actual expenses here. So we got 90 seed for teal oils, and that is going to be added onto the expenses, so 540 expense overall. And in terms of the actual incubators, let's just take a quick look. We have a similar amount, we got 3 of them, so we're not seeing any drastic change here, and the results are pretty similar. So let's take a look at currency. We dropped an exalted orb here, so that's pretty good for the actual profit. We will kind of mentally exclude that though when we're calculating the profit, even though it will be in there. In terms of everything else, it all looks pretty similar, excluding of course Parandus coins here and stacked decks. When we make a comparison between the non-teal test and the teal test, we can actually see that stacked decks are significantly higher here. Stacked decks in the other test were at 44, whereas we got 62 in our test. But that, while significant, could be down to RNG, because obviously some chests drop div cards, some chests drop stacked decks, and obviously that can cause some disparities there. So maybe that's just some luck of the draw. But when we move on to Parandus coins, we're going to notice a massive difference, over 10 times difference on how many Parandus coins we got. So we got significantly more Parandus coins here, like by an order of magnitude larger. Now, for the actual test here, I actually excluded Parandus coins because, I mean, I don't know why. It's just not in this kind of profit and loss. But in terms of like actual income, that's actually a significant amount of coins, and you could actually start making it quite a bit of chaos up here. So in the future, I should probably include this in my my currencies here. But nonetheless, 1.8k pretty much Parandus coins, definitely a massive shift in how much we got there. But again, I mean, okay, it's getting a little bit unlikely, but you could attribute that to RNG now. But again, it's pretty extreme difference, isn't it? So let's take a look at breach splinters. We got no trailer splinters, but alright, okay, that's fine. We didn't necessarily need them. They're kind of rare, so definitely interesting. But let's take a look at the amber test. again, we're seeing significantly less breach splinters, almost like half the amount in some cases on some of these results. So definitely pretty interesting here. And we got a lot more breach splinters overall, which is again a league specific chest and a league specific reward, which maybe could be attributed to those teal oils. So another one to look out for is actually the fragment chest. There is a fragment chest, so let's take a look there. No significant difference there. In fact, it's pretty similar. So definitely, again, some of these things will be similar, some of them won't be. We're looking for the outliers here and seeing some massive increases, hopefully, in some of the league specific things. And so far, we have seen that. So I'm going to point out a few more things that I have noticed, which are different. So in terms of the, I'll just take a quick look at the other stuff here. In terms of the actual div card stuff, we got some good prophecies. These are again considered league specific. So you could say that's a good chest. Some more gem chests. We got more good gems than the normal. We got like a Herald of Ice, for example. We got a lot of like good prophecies, and we actually did get a 6-link Queen of the Decree. But again, this is actually from weapon chests, so I think this is a bit of an outlier here, which we won't be looking at because that's not actually something that teal oils would improve. So that and the Exalt will mentally exclude, so around 300C is mentally excluded right now from the Prophet. In terms of actual fossils here, we again got a similar amount, so definitely no outlier there. And the oils overall was actually similar as well. We got a similar quantity of everything, maybe a few more clear oils, but overall it's pretty similar. We actually earned overall less for our oils just because we missed out on a few of those rare ones like the opalescence. So moving on, we need a big convincing factor here. What's going to convince us that teal oils really does increase the actual league rewards or the kind of rarity of everything? And that is what we'll find here with the scarabs. Oh my gosh, this is a drastic difference, and this is the main number one thing I noticed when actually viewing the teal oil test. I noticed that we were getting significant more scarab chests, but not just scarab chests, also league specific chests. You can see here that we got 17 breach scarabs. Some of these would have been from the scarab chests, but a lot of them would have also been from breach specific ones. So not only did we get an increase in breach splinters, but we also got an increase in breach scarabs. So that's leading me to believe that we got a significant more breach kind of chests. And again, we also do have a lot more Parandus and a few more bestiary as well than our other test, and overall we got an absolute ton more scarabs in general. And why this is so significant is because each scarab chest only drops one scarab, and the same with those league specific ones. So in terms of actual total chests which were league specific, it was a considerable amount more, like a lot more. And we're also seeing a lot of Parandus coins here as well, which would be a considerable amount of Parandus chests. You get about 100 or 100 or less Parandus coins per chest, so there must have been a ton of Parandus chests, which is pretty interesting. So overall, we actually made a lot more money than we did in the other test. We made a profit of 5 exalts. Obviously, that includes the exalt itself, as well as that Queen's Decree. So if we wipe off 300 chaos from that, we made a profit of 500 chaos, which is still higher than the other test, excluding the Parandus coins, which we got a significant lot more of. So definitely pretty interesting there, and this is with the inclusion of those teal oils as an expense. So what can we get from this information? I think it's pretty clear that teal oils definitely seem to, at least from this data, improve the rewards overall. We got a absolute ton more league specific chests, and I think the evidence really speaks for itself. And I have of course gone on to do more testing, as you can see down here, with the 15 teal oils and T13s and 15 crimsons and T13s. And obviously my anecdotal evidence is also very strong. I can say for sure that the teal oils, at least for me, in my opinion, from what I've done, like what, 70 or 80 now of these blighted maps, I have noticed a clear difference between no teal and teal, no crimson and like crimson. So that's going to be all of the results here. I don't think you're going to be losing any sort of money as long as you're buying at the prices that I have bought. 30C for a yellow blighted map seems fair. You can make a decent amount of profit on them as long as you get a little bit lucky with some of the drops and you use those teal oils and you're ready and happy to sit down and sell all of your preceding loot that you get from those maps. So if you enjoy the content, definitely go for it. You can make a bit of money off it. It's not a significant amount, but it is definitely there. You will be rewarded for your time, and it's a lot of fun cracking open all those chests. But don't worry guys, if you're really interested in making some actual money off these things, where you want to be looking at is T13 maps, using a similar strategy to what we did here. Just run 15 T13s with Teal oils, try not to buy them for more than 60 to 65 chaos, and let me know your guys' results, because I have run 15 of those with Teal and then 15 with Crimson, and oh man, can I say the results were insane. But that is going to be the next video, so make sure you guys tune in for that one, and we're going to go over some real money making, and we'll get into some real min-maxing, and it looks like T13 is at least where it's at from what the information we have right now. So with that little tip out of the way, I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to come check out the stream if you can. We're live on Twitch when we can be, and we'll see you guys then. Cheers.